welcome aboard. Welcome to Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, where we help people explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. There's no admission fee, only the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. If you're welcome no one else, if you are welcome nowhere else, have a seat. We have one for you. And today, as always, I'm joined by my good friend, co-host, and producer of this program, Mr. Mike.
Hello, it's a week later, and yes, I just so happen to be wearing the same t-shirt I was last week.
Me too. However, I did wash it.
Yes. No comment on mine.
Well, so after the last episode, we were talking about at a teaser about how to make better choices. And we were talking earlier before the podcast about trying to help people's lives through podcasting. So I, again, as anyone who's listened to these podcasts before, know that I often make references to the 12-step world. And Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith, two of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous, had one premise early on, and that was nothing will get a person out of themselves more than helping someone else, than working with someone else. And often the phrase, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade, but no one gives you the pitcher or the lemons or the water or the sugar or the instructions or the cups. However, we often hear that phrase again. If you don't like your life, make better choices. Well, today we're going to talk about how to make better choices, Mike. So what I'd like people to do, if they choose to, is to first of all use their fact-finding, data-gathering senses that goes into their brain and make a clinical observation, checking all the facts, and making a decision, an observation about a situation in front of them that perhaps need resolved or perhaps a decision needs to be made. And after that, Mike, what I ask people to do is tune into their emotional center. What does their emotional center say? What does their heart say? What does their emotions say about this situation? What is the grasp of it? What do they feel about that situation? And then, Mike, I ask people to, what is their gut feeling? What does their intuition say? And many children have much stronger intuitions and follow their intuitions much more than grown-ups. As we've often discussed on this show, your digestive system and your brain are formed out of the same fetal tissue in your mother's womb. And often it's said that the digestive system is your second brain. There are many, many, many receptors in your digestive system. And often your intuition can sense situations even before the act of thought. You walk into a room. Have you ever walked into a situation, Mike, and you just knew something, it was right or it was wrong? You just felt that immediately.
You just get this vibe as you enter the room and said, oh, I'm going to have to watch out for this one.
Yes, and your intuition generally is right. And your intuition acts actually quicker than your thought processes. Okay? So children have this intuition about them. Have you ever seen children that when they see somebody, they automatically shy away from them?
Or dogs.
Dogs,
Dogs
yes.
react. Yeah.
Right. Dogs have a sense. They have an intuition about people, and children have the same thing because their judgment, their intuition has not been jaded through outside influences that try to tell them how to think and feel and how they should be. Have you ever, tell me about a time in your life, Mike, where you used your intuition to make a choice?
I think for me, I think it happens a lot when I have an on location kind of job. Like there's a vibe in the room of who I'm going to deal with for the day. Because maybe there's been email exchanges or something, but it's I walk in and I figure out who's in charge, what the situation is, and I have to get a vibe for what my quote unquote coworkers are going to be for the day, right? And that definitely kind of plays in a little bit, and I don't know that until that first step through the door.
And again, we're continuously ask people to develop that beginner's mind,
Mm-hmm.
to attempt to take a non judgmental stance through your fact finding, data gathering brain. So when we walk into that room, we're walking in without prejudice or preconception and let our natural intuition, our gut feeling guide us. And Mike, when your head, your heart, and your gut align,
Mm-hmm.
you will know your path.
Right.
You will know it. So, how often does someone come up to you and say, I don't know what to do?
That's usually me.
Yes,
It's usually
yes,
me. It's usually I know I frustrate people because it's kind of a I don't know the next step. I'll know it when I see it kind of
yes.
thing. So that's definitely I feel like I run like 50% on gut at this point.
I would trust your instincts, Mike. So, if a person tells me, gee, my head says one thing, my heart says another, and perhaps my intuition is uncertain, what do I do, Jim? I'll say, well,
Mm.
that's okay. If in the moment, perhaps we don't have enough facts, we don't have a real good emotional sensor of this situation. And perhaps this is such a unique situation that we have no frame of reference for a gut instinct or intuitive action.
Uh,
Then what I'll ask people is okay, well, if you don't know until you know what to do, until those three things align, do you know what not to do?
and just to kind of take this into context, I feel this classifies for many of us during the COVID situation. This is a new situation. I'm being put in a I don't know what this is going to be, how long it's going to be, anything like that. To be honest, in some aspects, we still don't have answers. And, you know, we've been riding our gut, our intuition, and the information at whatever level that has been. Whether you're a business owner, whether you're trying to get your kids to school or figure out what that looks like, whether you're just figuring out what's happening in the world around you, because it has been so intense lately. And some people are definitely acting more out of the emotion side and not with the information side or some other off balance mix of that, right?
Indeed. Yes. Yes. So, to get a grasp of the situation, to use our faculties, to use our senses, and to be able to take that step back and observe the situation, as the Stoics call it, studied indifference. Some people call it a view from 30,000 feet. In the 12 step world, we often say you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle,
Mm-hmm.
and we ask people to step outside and read the label. If we could just read the label on situations and approach them without prejudice, and these disagreements that seem to be happening so often, and uh, as long as a person is doing no harm to anyone or anything, not inciting any type of violence or negativity, then they're perfectly fine to say and have whatever feelings or opinions that they do.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's when people insist that they have to convince other people that they're right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And kind of on that, I think I think people are reading into this will apply to a lot on social media posts, and instead of saying, that's right, that's wrong, that's the, don't you're stupid for believing that or something, the thing I say is this doesn't feel right to me. This doesn't track for me, and not a you know, this doesn't feel right versus this is wrong. You're wrong for thinking this. And I think that's, I mean, it's more It's more digestible. It's non-inflammatory. If not, it entices it hopefully starts a conversation versus a argument.
Yes, a conversation, not an argument, where
Mm,
we learn how to talk with people and not at them, Mike.
absolutely.
I saw a T-shirt advertised online today, and it said, "If I agreed with you, then we both would be wrong." I thought that was quite funny.
You could
Uh,
have fun wearing that into some
yes.
places.
So, unfortunately, there appears to be a great divide and civil unrest, and what you and I often suggest to people is there's a foundation on which we all can stand.
Mm-hmm.
There's a foundation on which we all can move from. And apparently that foundation has shifted and it's become sand, or it's become very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope is, Mike, that through this program, we can help people to learn how to step back and look at things rather than from them,
Mm-hmm.
and help people to understand what's important. And at one point, there was many things that we all agreed on. It's like in a marriage, in a relationship, in a business, but we want to get back to what got us together. We want to add to and reinforce. So quite often, Mike, when things aren't going good in a person's life, rather than explore that, to ask me, I'll ask them to tell me about a time when things were good, when things were good. And we want to find out what was happening then and add to and reinforce those things. So, with a mix of people, we want to ask, well, when were times good or at least tolerable? What was happening? How can we add to and reinforce that and get a solid foundation to stand on? And, Mike, as always, we offer a free prescription at the end of every podcast: fruits, nuts, and vegetables. Unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Forgive yourself and forgive another. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. As Martin Luther King said, evil will triumph when good people do nothing. Till all are free, no one is free. Namaste.
Please check out our website at fishingwithoutbait.com, where you can listen to the show, comment on our discussions, and find out where you can subscribe to our podcast.
If you're interested in flying the colors of Fishing Without Bait, click the shop icon on our website. We have clothing, mugs, cell phone cases, and so much more. Show the world that you fish without bait.
This show is a member of the Sorgatron Media Podcast Network. Find out more at sorgatronmedia.com.